Hi, it's Michelle Turner from Movement Lesson, and I'm here to talk about a video of a child that was sent to me. I know that the description with autism is hard enough, but you really have to look at the child itself versus just the overall, quote, diagnosis. Very similar to my son. I used to say he was like a hippopotamus at the zoo. He would travel in a certain maze around the house or the backyard, and he would repeat it like a rat in a cage. You need to, I'm a firm believer in Greenspan's work. I don't care if your child likes to play in the mud. I don't care what it is. You have to find the one thing that child would rather do with you than without you. As soon as you get that, come here, mommy. And again, like I said, I don't care if it's mud, you've got it, and it's got to be slow. It can't be everything. Just because you could break in with, like what if it's Thomas a Trains or a Trains, where you're all of a sudden you can introduce your own train and no, you're not supposed to go down the track or those kind of things. But that's where you start getting language. That's where you start getting where the child has to interact with you. You're allowed to give a child a downtime for that kind of global stimming in a sense but you've got to break in. You can't stand from afar and call to a child. Now I know that's more the videotaping, so it's not a fault, but I'm just saying it's just, you got to look at that. You can't call a child from afar. You've got to go into their world, but you've got to go into their world in a way where they're starting to look at you like, what are you doing here, type thing. And once you're in, you're in. My son wouldn't talk. One of the things he would do is read. So I would use street signs. Is this Camelback or is this? Now he's like a GPS system wherever he's been. He knows the whole map geography, so it created that kind of thing. But hey, I don't care. If I got him talking, that's what I had to do. For each child, it's unique. A really good book that I really refer to is called More Than Words. If your child's nonverbal, gives a whole bunch of social situations to parents, like if you're blowing bubbles and just going, you're waiting for and once you get the then it shows you how to bubbles, and you look for you're not going to blow the bubble until you get in the so you're getting that response back. Fabulous program. The book's a little expensive, and by the way, it's for any kid nonverbal. Forget the autism. I know it's marketed again more towards autistic children, but it's a great help. Now I'm just about to post, because I did it too. I do this wonderful thing that I've learned. It's a great little caress of the spine. You can do this when a child's sleeping, when you're hanging out watching TV, when you're waiting in line in the grocery store. It is such a wonderful bonding experience. You can do this with an infant. There just has to be absolutely nothing wrong with a child or absolute concerns. It doesn't matter. Child could have cerebral palsy. The child could have any numerous amount of things. You'll feel the breathing changes, the whatever, the heartbeat functions, the calmness come through. The working with the vestibular system through the pelvic region. So all that I've explained just on a separate video, so just go over and watch that, but I wanted to make that available for everybody. But just start small. With the things with autism, you're not going to make the global changes. Any kind of developmental delays that's happening, when you start to develop the child out of those things, and I don't call it cured, it's like a redirection, you get them out of it. It's not going to come up normal like a typical child where they start walking and talking and doing all this all at once. If they're working on walking, then verbal skills might be delayed because they're like, hey, I'm walking now. I can't talk to you at the same time. So you have to allow for okay, I'm working on this, and just give me a little bit more time before I start working on this. Or it's, you get all excited because you see one, and then you're expecting to see all that. It might take another week or a couple of weeks. Or I'm doing another video just on kissing, of what it took to get my son to kiss. So that's another thing I'm going to post tonight. So I've been kind of busy today. And just because it's really hard to get affection from our children, but it's not that they don't want to kiss you, they don't know how to kiss. There's a big difference between not knowing how to do something and not wanting to do. Just because a child has autism doesn't mean they don't want to be with their mother or their family. They don't know how to be. All these social skills, all these are movements. We've learned this from little young kids. And whatever's going on in our systems right now, where movements being interacted in a way that's changing our children. I don't know what's going on with this whole thing. I still go back to lack of playpens or maybe too much car seats. I don't know, but there's so much changes in the way kids are moving that this is happening. And I guess it's environmental, but that's a whole nother thing. So look to see if you can at least start doing those things. Even if it's the slide that the child's going down over and over. Can you put their favorite thing away so they have to ask for it? Ask for it in a way where you start prompting. I want the slide. Talk to them how they would say. Don't say do you. Don't ask a bunch of questions versus I want the slide, and as you're pulling your child along, you're talking as if the child was, so they get, again, that sense of language. And change the textures on the slides. Can you go down the slide into some water? Can you go down to some slides with some bubbles? Can you have to tag something as you go down or grab the ball? Start making it more complex and more variations. Because the variations are going to be like, oh, what's mom going to do now? Versus, I'm going down the slide, crawling up again, I'm going down the slide, I'm crawling up again, I'm going down the slide. Do you see how you mean to break into that? Maybe the trains can go down the slides. Maybe the balls can go down the slide. Can you eventually catch a ball as you're going down the slides? Start increasing the variation. These things might take months or they can take a couple of days. But again, look for that change, that, oh, what's going on here? I'm going into, all of those things. Look at the little things that you can change so you don't have so much as that walking around and what the frustration that comes from the parents seeing that kind of thing. But also rule out too that there's no visual things going on like cortical visual impairment that will affect the way that looks. But I thought his eye contact was pretty good. I think he's actually quite intelligent. There's almost too much intelligence where he's sort of like bored, even though he's not he's nonverbal. That, yeah, I'm going around my room. Yeah, I'm going out my room. But you also have to watch the amount of stimuli. If everything's available to him at all times, there's no reason to ask you to help him. Keep things a great success too. Like if there's a favorite train, keep a jar, and the train's in the jar. So they have to come to you to get it out of the jar. Anything that I can see it but I can't get at it, keep the toys up on a shelf. So again, grabbing your hand to go up to the shelf, and eventually, if they're reaching, redirect it, showing a point, and all of those things to, again, add to the complexities, but with you than without you. So I hope that helps. Really try the spine touch. I can't even begin to tell you if that's all anybody did to our kids, what a difference the world would be. So I hope that helps, and let me know how it does work. Thanks.